Hi, and welcome back to the Wellbe podcast. This is your host, Adrienne Nolan-Smith. Today, I'm excited to bring you a brand new guide on the real root causes of chronic throat clearing and post-nasal drip. These two things are pretty poorly understood, and many people just live with them without thinking twice. But I've got some info to share with you today that may make you say, oh, that's why. Specifically, what it might mean if you constantly need to clear your throat, why it matters, and how you can find post-nasal drip relief naturally. Real quick before we get started, if this is the first Wellbe podcast episode you've ever heard, welcome. I'm a holistic patient advocate with a long personal and professional story that got me to this point, which you can read about over at getwellbe.com. This podcast, my work, and my life are dedicated to empowering you in your health so that you can avoid a lot of the stuff I went through and eliminate the need for conventional healthcare today, next year, and in the way distant future, simply by making sure the 100 choices you make a day become your healthcare. And when chronic health issues do arise, figuring out how to get to the real root cause of them and heal them naturally. My goal is to help you become your own powerful health advocate and knowledge base after you've jumped into all the things Wellbe has to offer, which you'll find over at getwellbe.com, and I've put a link in the show notes. Also, while you're there, remember that registration for the 2021 class of the Spark Health program, a Clean It Up, Clean It Out program meant to help you create a non-toxic life and home once and for all, is now open and closes in just 48 hours this Wednesday, January 27th. So definitely check it out at getwellbe.com/store to see if it's for you before the doors close. I run this program once a year for you guys to make the process of detoxifying your home and daily life not so tough and time-consuming. With everything going on in the world, make sure 2021 is the year you get your ship in order. All right, now, so what's actually happening when you clear your throat? It all comes down to mucus. Mucus is a thick, wet substance produced by the membranes that line your digestive tract, all the way from your nostrils down to your stomach and intestines. This mucus is very important and helpful as it helps protect your body from all the allergens, dust, viruses, and other particles that you're constantly breathing in. Normally, when you inhale, the mucus acts as a filter, trapping any harmful substances before they can get into your body and cause problems. The invaders are expelled, and then the mucus mixes with saliva and you swallow it without noticing. But sometimes your body produces too much mucus. That excess mucus can come out your nostrils, causing a runny nose, but it can also settle in the back of your throat, which is a condition you've probably heard of called post-nasal drip. Post-nasal drip creates an uncomfortable feeling, and your body instinctively tries to get rid of it by vibrating the muscles of your throat to remove the mucus, aka clearing your throat. Clearing your throat seems like such a normal everyday occurrence that most people don't think twice about it. But the need to clear your throat doesn't come out of nowhere, so there's always going to be some underlying cause. Here are some of the most common reasons you might have a constant need to clear your throat. First, allergies. If you're allergic to something in your environment, it can cause excess mucus and post-nasal drip. Asthma. Since a common cause of asthma is allergies, the same thing applies here. Your body is trying to get rid of something in your body via mucus that it doesn't want. Then there's a virus or infection. This can be something from a common cold to strep throat to mono or a sinus infection, but the key here is that it's an acute issue usually accompanied by other symptoms other than just having to clear your throat. So if you're constantly having to clear your throat unrelated to having any sort of cold, then it's not a virus or bacterial infection. Then you have dehydration. Not drinking enough water or drinking too many diuretic substances like caffeine or alcohol can cause your throat to dry out, creating irritation. Then you have a lung condition like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, also known as COPD or bronchitis. Next, you have dry air. So dry indoor air, which is really common in the winter, can be irritating to your throat, causing you to produce more mucus. Then you have environmental pollutants, so poor air quality means more particulate matter for your mucus to filter, which can mean more mucus. Then you have smoking. The act of smoking involves inhaling lots of tiny particles each time you take a puff, which will obviously have repercussions for your throat. And that's not just smoking cigarettes. That can be smoking marijuana, smoking cigars. Yes, I'm sorry, cigar smokers. Even some of the smoke gets into your throat that you think is staying in your mouth. And lastly, we have certain medications, especially high blood pressure medications. With the throat clearing causes I just listed, it's probably pretty clear how those behaviors or conditions can create extra mucus in your throat. That's probably why these are the things that people think of when they find themselves with constant postnasal drip. But many of the explanations I listed don't get to the real root cause of having to clear your throat. Our bodies are much more complex than you might realize, and it turns out that your throat clearing can be, and often is, related to something going on with your diet and digestion. The main culprit here is acid reflux, when acid from the stomach works its way back up the intestinal tract. There are two types of acid reflux. Both are acronyms, so bear with me. One is GERD and the other is LPR. I'll explain them both in a second, but only one of them can cause constant postnasal drip, and the other is far more common and widely known. For this reason, people generally don't think about reflux when they find themselves with a throat tickle that won't go away. First, the most widely known type of acid reflux is gastrointestinal reflux disease, or GERD. This refers to a condition when acid from the stomach moves back up your digestive tract into the esophagus, aka our food pipe that connects the throat to the stomach. This is the type of reflux that causes heartburn, or the burning sensation in your chest. And it's what you see on commercials for PPIs or common heartburn medications like Prilosec or Nexium. Then there's something called LPR, bear with me. The word is laryngopharyngeal reflux. This is the lesser known reflux and also the kind of reflux that can create constant postnasal drip. LPR occurs when undigested matter from the stomach travels up the esophagus and all the way to the larynx and pharynx, two passageways that we collectively think of as our throat. Once the stomach matter gets up there, it causes irritation, creating the constant need to clear your throat without any of the other symptoms typically associated with reflux. Because of this, it's also sometimes referred to as silent reflux. There are various potential reasons that a person might develop LPR. Oftentimes, the issue is acidic foods, which can be inflammatory. Some people can process them just fine, but for others, eating acidic foods like citrus fruits or citrus juice or vinegar and wine can wreak havoc. In our interview with ENT Dr. Jonathan Aviv, which is a fantastic episode from way back in September 2018, find it on getwellbe.com and watch the video version of the interview, or you can read it there. He shared the top 12 acidic foods to avoid, as well as what you should eat if you're having acid-related reflux, or you have to clear your throat a lot and think it may be related to having an acidic diet. In other cases, the issue might be a food sensitivity or allergy rather than acid. If your body has trouble tolerating, say, dairy or gluten, then it can leave those compounds undigested and push them back up from where they came, into your throat. It's also important to note that these two types of reflux don't live in isolation from one another. While GERD doesn't cause postnasal drip or throat irritation, it could be a potential precursor. According to one review, up to 60% of people with GERD eventually develop LPR. Having the constant need to clear your throat is very, very, very annoying. We've all been there, both to the person clearing their throat and everyone around them. Unfortunately, that's the least of the potential problems associated with chronic postnasal drip. Left untreated, it can lead to various health complications from the concerning to the very scary. First off, chronic throat clearing creates a vicious cycle. Even though you clear your throat to be able to speak more clearly, doing so is actually really hard on your vocal cords. It creates short-term relief, but it's actually causing as much irritation as it gets rid of. Clearing your throat causes unnecessary wear and tear on your delicate vocal cords, as well as swelling that produces even more saliva that you then want to get rid of by clearing your throat again. This all means that if you clear your throat a lot, you're much more likely to have a constant need to clear your throat. Ugh, I know, this is annoying. Other potential complications include a plugged up eustachian tube, which connects your throat to your middle ear. If your eustachian tube gets clogged with mucus, it can make it difficult to hear and also throw off your sense of balance, while also causing a serious ear infection. Likewise, clogged sinuses can cause a painful sinus infection. On an even more serious level, untreated chronic acid reflux, or the chronic throat clearing and postnasal drip you might be experiencing that you didn't realize was chronic acid reflux can be a sign of or precursor to esophageal or laryngeal cancer. All right, so what about some natural options for fixing these things? If you do a quick Google search for postnasal drip relief, the results are filled with various over-the-counter and prescription medications. We tend to avoid these at getwellbe not only because of the scary documented side effects of PPIs or heartburn medications or other kinds of medications related to postnasal drip relief, but also because they don't treat the underlying issue at all. Of course, in order to treat constant postnasal drip, you need to have an understanding of what's going on. Is it an allergy to a food? Do I have a cold? Is it reflux? Is my diet too acidic? You can get to the bottom of this by working with a holistic practitioner or functional medicine doctor. I highly recommend watching the Dr. Aviv interview at getwellbe.com first, or even by doing some experimentation on your own. In terms of long-term lifestyle changes that can help offer postnasal drip relief and are also just good for your health overall, here's what we recommend. The first, and I'm sure you'll roll your eyes because it's so commonly said on the getwellbe podcast, but change your diet. Everyone's specific food sensitivities will be unique to their bodies, but there are some foods and drinks that tend to be more irritating and inflammatory than others. Research has shown that a Mediterranean diet has been effective in treating LPR, but you can also just make some changes to your normal diet. Generally, avoiding overly spicy, fatty, sugary, or acidic foods is a good call, as well as exercising moderation around caffeine and alcohol, or depending on the severity of your symptoms, giving up caffeine and alcohol altogether to see if your symptoms subside or at least get better. You can also keep a food diary to try to pinpoint any foods to which you might be allergic or have a sensitivity. Next, you can adjust your eating schedule. If reflux is the root of your constant throat clearing and postnasal drip, try to make sure that you avoid eating or drinking within 3 hours of lying down at night. When you're lying down, it's much more difficult for your body to push food down the digestive tract. When you're sitting or standing up, gravity can help the process. Next, and again, you're going to roll your eyes because it's spoken about so much on the getwellbe podcast, but fix your gut health. Your digestive tract is just another term for your gut, so if you're having reflux-related postnasal drip or chronic throat clearing, your gut health is off. Changing your diet is part of improving gut health, but not all of it. We have an awesome free getwellbe gut health guide over at getwellbe.com, so go snag that for a comprehensive look at what affects gut health and how you can improve yours naturally. Next, avoid irritants. Environmental pollutants can be a huge trigger for postnasal drip. While you can't do a ton about the outdoor air quality where you live, you can try your best to avoid spaces that have known irritants, as well as install a high-quality air filter or air purifier in your home. Next, maintain a healthy weight. Being overweight is associated with reflux, so losing weight or working to maintain a healthy weight can help you avoid constant postnasal drip and throat clearing and other symptoms and health problems associated with GERD or LPR. Next, quit smoking. If you're having any of these symptoms and you smoke cigarettes or marijuana or cigars regularly, this probably goes without saying, but we'll say it anyway. If you smoke, it's time to quit, or at least experiment and quit for some time to see if your symptoms get better, and then quit for good. Lastly, stay hydrated. Good hydration keeps your throat and esophagus lubricated, making it easier to clear out any excess mucus and prevent it from settling at the back of your throat. You can also use a humidifier while indoors to further help avoid dehydration. In terms of short-term postnasal drip relief, there are some more physical natural home remedies you can use. Because humidity can help, try taking a steamy shower or standing over a pot of steaming water with a towel draped over your head, creating like a mini steam room. Also, gargling with warm salt water can be effective, helping to clear mucus and perhaps even killing germs if you think it's more infection or viral-related postnasal drip. If reflux is the root cause, then try propping your head and neck with pillows at night so that you're sleeping at an angle. This elevation will help the mucus return down your throat and esophagus and into your stomach. All right, so to sum up, having the constant need to clear your throat is a big bummer. It's also a very misunderstood condition and very common, and one that might have serious health implications down the line. Here's what you need to know and remember about postnasal drip and chronic throat clearing. 1, mucus is your friend, believe it or not. The membranes in our digestive tract produce mucus in order to trap and filter out harmful bacteria, allergens, and other particulate matter that we inhale on a daily basis. When we produce too much mucus for whatever reason, it can settle in the back of your throat, a condition called postnasal drip. Postnasal drip is what creates the constant need to clear your throat. Then there are a ton of potential causes of postnasal drip, including allergies, asthma, an infection, so something like the common cold or strep or mono, and then lastly, certain medications, especially high blood pressure medications. Diets can also be a big cause of postnasal drip. When you eat food that is overly acidic or food that you are allergic or sensitive to, it can get pushed back up the digestive tract, which is known as reflux. If the food makes it all the way up your throat, a condition known as LPR, it can cause chronic throat clearing. Then constant postnasal drip can lead to or be a sign of more serious conditions, from a blocked eustachian tube to your ear, or chronic sinus infections, or even certain cancers. Lastly, there are various natural approaches to postnasal drip relief. Depending on what is the root cause of the issue, you may try changing your diet. This is what we'd recommend first. Staying hydrated, investing in an air purifier, avoiding irritants, losing weight, or quitting smoking. But as we said, our money's on your diet because it's so common, and our interview with Dr. Jonathan Aviv explains much more about why. All right, now I want to know, have you ever struggled with a constant need to clear your throat or feel like you have a lot of mucus and a postnasal drip? What did you do about it, or are you doing about it to treat it? Let me know in the comments over on the written version of this guide on getwellbe.com, and you'll find a link to it in the show notes. Now, I hope you'll check out the Spark Health program while you're there, since registration is only open once a year as a group, and it will be closing soon on Wednesday, January 27th. This Clean It Up, Clean It Out holistic living program was created to help members of the WellBe community actually create a non-toxic life and home once and for all, not just know they should and say they'll do it one day. There's a lot we can't control in the world right now, and even parts of our health we can't control, like what we breathe out on the street. But we can 100% control what we allow into our homes and, in effect, into our bodies. So let's take a few weeks to get it in order together. I promise you'll be so happy when it's over that you've set the rest of your life and your home up to spark health and not disease. And if you're not interested in the program, which is totally fine, you should definitely check out some of the many free gifts on the getwellbe.com homepage. As I mentioned, there's a free gut health guide, which is awesome, and a few others that are rich resources chock full of information and research that will help you get started on your WellBe journey. And, as I said, they're totally free. If you found this episode helpful or interesting, subscribe to the podcast. This way you'll never miss a new episode, and they'll be delivered to you whenever we publish a new one. And please share this episode with family or friends who you think might find it valuable and informative. It means a lot and helps more people find the podcast. If you already have, then thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This is actually our last episode of Season 5 of the WellBe podcast. We're taking a little break in February, but then we'll be back with some great new episodes in March, so definitely stay tuned and subscribe so you'll be sure to get notified when we drop our first episode of Season 6. Once again, this is your host, Adrienne Nolan-Smith, and thanks for listening.